So let's get started. I'll have us get comfortable wherever you'd like. We're actually, I'm going to have us start lying down this evening, unless you really want to sit. If you really want to sit, go ahead and sit, but I'm going to ask us to all come to lie down.
I'm going to have to move my dog.
A little nudge. It may be inconvenient for pet friends, but we'll start there. And no particular shape, allow the legs to relax, allow the arms to relax. If you want a prop, a pillow or something, a blanket, feel free. But as everyone's getting situated, I'll just have everyone on mute. But of course, if you have a question, please ask, unmute yourself, type it in the chat at any point in time. Okay, let me back up to my mat. And here we are. Okay, we're all coming to that comfortable place, asking us to lie down this evening to start our practice. And you can close your eyes whenever you're most comfortable, or just keep the gaze soft. Okay, but welcoming yourself into your space, welcoming yourself into stillness. Notice how the act of stillness is that signal to the body that we've arrived. And you may notice parts of your breath, feeling warmth or coolness by the presence of inhale and exhale. But with one sweep of consciousness, allow your entire body to soften. With one sweep of consciousness, relax into the front body. And then with another sweep of consciousness, allow yourself to relax the back body. Becoming so connected here that there is no separation between you and the floor. As we arrive here a little more intellectually, a little more intuitively, in what ways are we sitting within the company of ourself? And maybe in 1, 2, or 3 words, how would you describe your essence? And we'll continue to play around with that word this evening, but for right now, without any definition, textbook definition, or examples, in what ways would you describe your essence? And as we find ourselves sitting within our own company again and again and again throughout our yin practice, feel free to let these words that describe your essence, let them change, let them renew. Or maybe you'll continue to find truth within the words that you already have chosen. So with this in mind, we're going to start our practice this evening with 3 cleansing breaths. Together, let's inhale through the nose. And then open the lips to exhale. Again, like that. Deep breath in. And a deep breath out. One more time. Full inhale. And a complete exhale. As you come back to your natural breath, notice the warmth within the belly, the chest, maybe the cheeks of your face and your nose. Let this warmth settle into the body as we allow it to help seal our intentions for practice. So take a moment here to first awaken the arms. Feel free to reach the arms up and above the head, taking a full body stretch, or maybe you'll let the arms wrap around the chest, giving an upper body squeeze, whatever feels good. From there, you can bend into the knees one at a time, bringing the feet flat to the floor. If you want to hug the knees into the chest, do so. If you want a windshield wiper to the knees, side to side, do so. Your decision here. But then we'll start our practice tonight in our dove shape. So we're already here on our mat. With the knees bent and the feet flat to the floor, we're going to start with dove on the left side. Okay, so allow the left knee to draw out to the side. And as we open the left thigh, opening the left hip, you may want to take a pillow or a blanket and prop that left knee and that left thigh. And this may be enough sensation for you, right? Your left foot just opened out to the blade of it, left knee opened out to the side, stretching into the hip here. Now, if you want a little bit more, take your left foot and walk it underneath your right leg. That may cause the left knee to move a little bit on a diagonal. Maybe the left knee is going to face forward completely, depending on if your left foot is walking all the way over to your right glute. Right? But just play around. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you necessarily need to do it. So find the best place for the knee to rest, honoring whatever sensations are arriving at that moment. And then you're always welcome to play around with your variations here throughout your time in the pose. From there, you can keep your hands near you or away from you or up above the head. Whatever seems best. As we notice sensations becoming more and more present. With a first breath or two, you may relax with that same one sweep of consciousness. But then we'll want to start to get a little more specific. Can we guide our awareness to particular parts of the body? Noticing if there's any unnecessary tension, unnecessary gripping or clenching, and let those places release and relax. At first glance, you may notice the jaw or notice the shoulders. If those places need to soften, allow them to. And then you may notice the belly or the glutes gripping. If so, you can allow them to release as well. And after maybe the typical places, we can start to notice the rest of the body. Are your knees clenching? Are your calves clenching? Are your toes clenching? If that clenching, if you deem it necessary, fine. But if you can define it as unnecessary, see what happens if the body continues to soften. You may check in with the elbows and the palms and fingers as well. Sometimes this unnecessary clenching can be described as if we were holding fists within our body. And even if you were to make a fist and squeeze it, right, eventually the body will fatigue and it gets tiring. These energetic fists are tiring to carry. So coming into the practice, we can notice if any are existing. Most likely they are, and me too. And we can use the breath to help ourselves release and soften. This will help the fascia continue to stretch. This will help the path of the fascia continue to expand, that strong but stretchy elastic. And sometimes the stretch itself is uncomfortable. So we don't need to add any extra discomfort with the clenching or with the gripping. Maybe you find yourself taking one more full cycle of breath. And then at the bottom of the exhale, you can begin to slowly and mindfully release from the pose. Maybe your hands awaken first, and they'll help that left thigh begin to release, whether your knees stay bent or your legs straighten. Do what feels natural, what feels comforting. Just like when we wake up in the morning, we just take these weird shapes as we stretch. And you can think of it that way if that's helpful for you. Finding that freedom within the body to take any shape, any counter movement. Okay, and then when you feel that you've taken enough movements, you'll find that pause. We'll take that place to rebound, whether you choose to stay on your back, roll to your belly, come up to sit, you know, what feels good for you. And then you'll find that goodness. You'll pause, you'll close your eyes. And then we take that moment to observe. Imagine if you were looking at a piece of art and trying to describe the meaning behind it. Right? What was the artist thinking within the picture or texture? So notice that same sensation within the body. What subtle sensations do you feel as the fascia contracts back? How would you describe your breath? How does it feel to sit within the space of your own company? Take another moment here. And if you'd like to stay in rebound, you're welcome to stay. If you're choosing to come into dove on the opposite side, then you'll allow the knees to bend, feet come flat to the floor, and we'll open the right knee out to the side. And as that right knee falls out to the side, the blade of the foot touches the floor, you're welcome to stay exactly right there. Or you can walk this right foot underneath the left leg, any amount. And if you're not sure what that amount is, if that amount causes any sort of discomfort, then that's a great place to begin. We're not looking to be completely relaxed because that's more of a restorative yoga practice. We're not looking to cause ourselves pain. That's unhealthy. So we're looking for that place of growth. And whether it's physical, emotional, mental, places of discomfort usually guide us to grow. And I'm not saying you can't grow from those other two extremes, because trust me, you can. But for our yin practice, that's the element that we're looking for. So then as you sit within the company of yourself, and as you notice discomfort boiling, whether it's from stretch, stillness, quiet, we can start to find places of comfort maybe. Maybe that sense of comfort comes from the softening. Softening the muscles of the face, the muscles within the torso, muscles within the legs. How can this softening almost serve as a comfortable blanket, a space to be held? From time to time, you'll check in with the breath. The breath can be as vocal as it will like to be, breathing deeply, breathing quietly. So within the presence of this shape and within this particular pose, in what way would you describe your essence? And again, if you were describing the essence of a painting, how would you describe yourself in that same or similar way? Notice if your description of an essence rings true. Maybe within a few moments of thought, we can see how there's many layers of our essence. In the same way, there's many layers here within the body, within the fascia, within all the parts and layers we're breathing into. And you're welcome to take another full cycle of breath. And then from there, whenever you're ready, you'll slowly and mindfully begin to let yourself release from the shape. Your hands may lower to the thighs, and you can help maneuver the legs, especially since they've been in stillness. And then which way does the body go next? Do the knees windshield wiper? Do the legs go long? Maybe they extend high towards the ceiling. And I know we've been conditioned to follow a set of rules, right? To follow a list of things to do, but I really just encourage you to move the body however you want. Whether it looks like a yoga shape, doesn't look like a yoga shape, it could look like a morning stretch, right? Any types of movements. And then when you feel that you've expressed the essence of the stretch through your counter movements, we'll come to that pause in rebound. Whether you twist to your side, stay on your back, roll to your belly, just find a place to comfortably stay. What can you observe here from subtle sensations as the fascia contracts back? What could you observe of the breath? Maybe you can see at the internal gaze behind the eyelids and notice what's there for you at your internal screen. Take another moment here. And you're more than welcome to stay where you are. Or when you're ready, you can begin to awaken the body gently. And this next pose will still have us be on the floor, but if you need to watch me coming into the pose, you may want to look at the camera for just a moment, but we're going to come into reversed wing. And reversed wing is when we're laying on the ground. We have that little bind behind the low back, but we're laying on the body. So I'll show you real quick. what that image looks like. Now, just from like a seated perspective, right, the arm will be underneath you, but we're laying on it. But if you take a bind around the low back, it looks something like that. So as you come to lie down, we're going to start with the left arm, right? You may want to blanket because, for example, by lifting into the hips, you'll walk your left forearm underneath the hips. So if you have a watch or a bracelet on one of your arms, you'll probably want to remove it just to help. But then you're going to walk it underneath the hips, underneath your spine, and then let the hips relax. Okay, so a few things I want to talk about before we just jump into it. If that's intense sensation to walk your entire forearm underneath your back, don't. Maybe you just walk it halfway. Maybe just your palm is underneath your back and more of your forearm is resting next to your body, right? So you want to play around with how far you're going to walk your arm underneath your spine. Now, because of that rotation, the shoulder blade sometimes digs into the ground and it has nothing to do, it's nothing bad, it's just your shoulder bone. So if you want a blanket, you can take a little blanket and prop that shoulder bone, prop the back of your head. So that's at least for the arm. Now, two more things. With your tailbone, right? Any natural arch, great. Love the natural arch. But I don't want us to extend the body just because we're uncomfortable. So we'll pick up the hips again, glide the tailbone underneath you, and then you can lower back down. Okay? That's just a nice little adjustment to do for yourself. And then the last thing I want to mention is our legs. You know, if you're feeling enough like this, keep your knees bent. If you'd like to relax one leg, hang out there. If you want to relax both legs, great. Okay, so feel free to play around. And then in case you need to see it from the other side, your left arm is walking underneath you. So your hand, depending on the length of your arm, your hand, your fingers may be outside of your body on the opposite side, which is fine. So your right arm will relax near you, to the side of you, up above the head. Anything like that. You know, if your tailbone seems like it's on a diagonal, some people will like to leave their tailbone like that or their hips like that, which you totally can do. But if you feel safer or you feel more inclined to prop your tailbone, to prop one of your glutes, you're welcome to do so. If you have a question, let me know. I'm going to go off on a tangent for a second, so feel free to arrive. You may want to move the body around a few times just to see what's best for it, so take your time figuring out the logistics. But my tangent here is, depending on your glutes, depending on, you know, if one leg's longer than the other, that type of thing, you'll start to notice shifts. And like I'm realizing something that I didn't realize before, just demonstrating the pose, is when I bring my left arm underneath me, because of the tightness of the upper body, my opposite hip, I'm seeming like I'm on a tilt. And when we notice those types of tilts within the body, at that point it has nothing to do with, well, I shouldn't say nothing, but most of the time it has nothing to do with bone structure. At that, it's showing me where there's unnecessary tension in my upper body, causing my lower body to be on a tilt, right? One hip lower than the other at that point. So what you'll do here, not only are you observing sensation, not only are you arriving into your breath and the softness, but you'll start to notice maybe that, oh, I leave a lot of compensation. Oh, my lower right back is tighter, which starts to realize that my left shoulder must be tighter, right? Because that line of fascia follows on a diagonal. Maybe I'm putting a lot of my weight in my right foot when I'm standing. Maybe I'm not bringing my weight even distributed throughout my feet. All of these types of questions. And we have so many good teachers in all of the yoga classes. So we've already talked about a lot of these topics. And the point of that tangent is just to honor that the yin practice is going to reveal. Yes, it will heal tension in the body, but it's also going to reveal more work that has to be done or can be done. And as we're thinking about that, we'll soften, unclench, ungrip as you arrive into the space. Let the body reveal to you, let your thoughts reveal, let your feelings reveal. Almost as if these poses were allowing ourselves to catch up with our own essence or to catch up with our own experience. So continue to arrive. Continue to stay present as you observe your experience and witness the experience, while also engaging with it, receiving from it. And staying present here. Maybe you'll find one more full cycle of breath. And if you'd like to stay longer, you're more than welcome to stay. But if you're choosing to release, we'll first bend one knee at a time, guiding your feet back to the floor. And then you can let the hips lift up gently. Slowly release that left arm. And just notice what happens there. What subtle sensations? Do the arms float out to the sides? Maybe your body wants to come right into stillness and rebound. But of course, if there's little movements for the legs, if you want to rock side to side on the spine, if you want to twist to one side of the body or the other, whatever it may be, and then you can meet us in rebound whenever you're ready. Observe the difference within the breath, its expansion, its vibrance. Feeling The subtle sensations are like the echoes of the fascia as these fibers contract back to the joints, to the muscles, to the organs, to the bones. You're more than welcome to stay here a little longer. If you're choosing to release and awaken from rebound, you may find a few natural movements. And then we'll take our reversed wing on the right side, or for whatever reason, if you started on the right, you'll now do the left. But we'll start by bending into the knees, feet flat to the floor. If there's anything on this forearm or wrist, just remove it, and then you'll guide that forearm underneath the low or middle back, depending on where your natural arch is. If the shoulder blade is digging into the ground and you don't want to feel it, take a blanket, prop the shoulder blade. Prop the back of the head if helpful. You may need to lift up the hips one more time, glide the tailbone underneath you, not only to help the spine, but also to not flare out the rib cage and the diaphragm. So we'll want to bring those back to more of a neutral place. And then you may want to keep your knees bent, or you can let one leg relax. Maybe the other leg softens and relax. Just take the best shape for you. We don't want to start with the deepest sensation the quickest. It's beneficial to make that gradual. But of course, we're never stuck. If you want deeper, you can find a deeper stretch. If you want a little less, especially if that's how the body is guiding you, you can maybe bend one knee or the other. And you'll soften within your own time, letting go of unnecessary tension or unnecessary control. Maybe you'll notice by not softening and by holding the clenches or the grips that may hinder your experience. Maybe you can't find or you can't reveal that truer essence with all that unnecessary tension built up. So as we let go, we also let in. And allow this aspect of your essence to present itself. One way to describe essence is the scent you give off. So maybe you think about how the presence of you, when you walk into a room, what do you give off? What scent? What energy do you give off? What do you present to that room? Maybe that's one way you can help define your external essence. The mind may trail off. Explore the breath, explore the body. Notice what presents itself within the internal gaze behind the eyes. But if you find yourself distracted, come back to that question of the essence. From here, you're more than welcome to stay where you are. But whenever you're ready to release, maybe you take another full breath. And then the legs can awaken. Maybe you roll throughout the ankles, flex and point to the toes. One knee can bend at a time. And eventually you'll find yourself lifting the hips gently, unraveling the arm from beneath you. You may find a few counter movements here. But then within your own time, you'll allow yourself to reclose the eyes in case they've opened. And then if you're not yet in rebound, meet us there when you're ready. Taking that meditative pause. Let the mind reflect and observe, but will allow the body to catch up with itself. The physical body needs this pause. In the same way we like to build muscle memory and neural memory, we're allowing ourselves to build into our fascial memory. Allowing yourself to soften here, even in your rebound. And if you'd like to stay a little longer, you're more than welcome to. Or whenever you're ready, you'll take a few movements to wake the body up. And then we'll all come back to a seated shape. Whether you roll to one side or gently come to sit up, no rush. I'm going to explain a few different options for our next set of sequence. So just bear with me because it's a lot of information, not in an overwhelming way, but I just want to give enough options so that you have enough options. Okay, so we're going to be coming into a double stretch. And now double stretches mean there will be no pause of rebound. We're going to stretch, and then come into the pause of rebound. So the first shape that we're going to come into is called Golden Gate, kind of like Golden Gate Bridge. It is the bridge for yin poses. And then that's going to take us into a forward fold. So let me show you here some options. Now, when I like to come into this stretch, I don't always use my bolster. So in case you don't have a bolster or in case you want to use blankets, let me show you this first. Maybe use one blanket or two blankets. So the higher you create the stack, the deeper the stretch, okay? One blanket's plenty, but in case you want to play around, feel free to stack more. You're gonna sit, your tailbone or your glutes, right, will be at the edge of that line of the blankets there. And then you're going to allow yourself, I gotta scooch down a little bit, allow yourself to arch over, right? Arch over the props. Now, to be honest, I need to do this. So this is what my point here is. You're gonna come into it, you're gonna be like, that's not enough. You gotta come up, you gotta play around here to figure out the logistics. That's actually a little better. So when I come to sit, my edge of the tailbone there, beautiful. Okay, so here's my arch. This is my back bend. And then my arms are gonna relax, okay? Now the thing with this is, if you feel like your head is too low, and mine is a little bit for me, so I would take a pillow and prop my head as well, okay? Now, don't go into anything yet because I still gotta explain a few stuff. So here we are in our bridge, our golden gate, arms are relaxed wherever. Based on your torso, based on how your back feels, based on whatever props you're using, this may not be helpful. So instead of keeping it in the middle of your back, you're gonna push the props up a little bit so that you take more of your shoulders. So you'll walk your shoulder blades on your little blankets or pillows, whatever you're using, and then you'll allow yourself to arch back that way. This is also a great stretch. Now, again, if you want to prop your head, you're welcome to prop your head, right? I'm not going to make myself fully comfortable, but I just want you guys to see, some options. And then your arms are going to relax. Your shoulders do not have to touch the floor. Okay? So you'll play around whether you keep your rolled up blankets or bolsters higher towards the shoulder blades or lower towards the back. One last thing before I let you guys go. Normally, we take the stretch like this. Just your legs are relaxed. But I'm going to give you the option to bring your legs into a V shape. It kind of changes it up a little bit. So if you want to, you can keep the legs completely straight and relaxed, or you'll come into a wide V. Okay, so that's where we're going with this. I'll explain the forward fold later on once we're in it. I don't want to overload with information. So feel free to play around. I won't start the timer yet. Let's kind of take a few moments to logistically figure out where you guys want to go, what do you want to do, coming out, coming in. It's going to take a couple times, especially to figure out what props you need today, You can come into all of these stretches every single day, every other day, and depending on the day, you may need different props, you may need different support. So take a hot second there to notice if there needs to be a pillow underneath the head or a blanket rolled up underneath the head. Maybe you only need one blanket underneath you to create that arch. Maybe you need two, maybe you need three. Especially if you're using a pillow tends to squish down easier. So you may need blankets on top of that pillow to help give your body the feedback. Yeah, so no rush. But when you've decided on how to keep your upper body, then you can decide what to do with the legs, right? And it may be best to start with the knees bent and the feet flat to the floor. Just like our previous pose. One leg can relax, maybe both legs relax. And then if you do want to take that laying down dragonfly, allow the legs to come out wide into a V shape. You can do that as well. Or maybe you find something that you would like to do. I'm starting the timer, just so that everyone knows. when we arrive into the stillness, we're also guiding ourselves to a place to listen and to hear. So if at any point you hear the body guide you, right, in that intuitive space that we all know we have, but we may not know how to describe it contextually, but you may hear your body saying like, oh, I need a little prop under my knee, or I need a little prop under my tailbone because this just doesn't feel right. Or we need to move my arms, or we need to move the head, things like that. And it may seem really inconvenient to the mind. And there's a difference between hearing and listening. You know, we may hear the message, but listening means we're going to take action. So if you truly listen to yourself, find as many adjustments, take those adjustments, take that guidance as necessary. In a studio space, I may be able to see things and I would come up and ask you, but I would also still say, listen to the body. And now in our virtual space, it's more apparent the need to listen to the body. There is no right or wrong. The teacher here is the space of the body. So within your own time, you'll check in with the breath. Check into the gaze behind the eyes. Softening again and again and again. And allowing yourself to take one full cycle of breath, noticing any reclaimed space within the body. And then we'll start to awaken gently here. We'll let our arms travel back towards us. We can let the knees bend and the feet come flat to the floor. And your body may want to sit up immediately like that, or you may roll to your side body, rolling off of your bolster or off of your blankets, and then you'll guide yourself back to sit. So we'll try to keep our awareness inward because we're coming right into the next stretch. Legs in the V shape. Now we're coming into seated dragonfly. If you had your legs in that V shape, it may feel enticing to bring them into that V shape again as you choose to forward fold. Using any of your blankets, pillows, however you want to stack things. Some experiences within the forward fold, you'll want to take a blanket and prop your tailbone. But maybe in that previous shape, you didn't have your legs in a V and you had your legs straight. Right? So maybe you decide to take caterpillar instead. In yin, we call our forward fold for Paschimottanasana, we call it caterpillar. So If you'd like to do that instead of dragonfly, you're welcome to it. Feel free to choose any forward fold, no right or wrong, no better or worse. Rolling up your pillows or blankets to maybe prop the forehead. And if the body doesn't want to round just yet, that's okay. Maybe you'll keep your palms grounded or your forearms grounded, spine a little straighter. And then you can always round into a deeper stretch when you're ready. Begin to arrive. Find the expansion of the breath. Gravitating towards the stillness. And you may still be reflecting upon the description of your external essence. But also take a moment to define the internal essence. Maybe they differ, maybe they're similar. Sometimes our internal presence, that internal scent we give off to ourselves, may not always be expressed externally. Sometimes it can be. And if this external essence is different than the internal essence, that's okay. They're both true. Maybe in some ways they intertwine, intersect in similar ways that the threads of fascia do. And checking in with your breath. And if you'd like to stay here a little longer, you're more than welcome to. If you're ready to release, you can begin to slowly awaken the hands and arms. Maybe they'll press down to help lift the head and chest. And you may feel comfortable to pause right there in a seated shape. Within your own time, you'll move props out of your way. Maybe your knees bend, and as you come to sit, you can even windshield wiper the knees. Maybe you cross over your ankles and you come to a child's pose shape. Maybe you're even laying on your back with one ankle crossed over the other as if you were relaxing in a hammock. So really just take any counter movements, any shapes. You'll come to that meditative pause, whether you're sitting, standing, laying down, child's pose, whatever it may be. And just taking that moment there to reflect. Noticing the awareness hum or buzz throughout the body. Maybe we get this glimpse of comfort as we sit within the space of our own company. Noticing subtle sensations from both poses. Feeling the presence and awareness of the entire back body, the entire front body, our legs, our arms. So if you'd like to stay here a little longer, you're welcome to stay and rebound. But I'd like us to come into one more thing before we take Shavasana. So, of course, if you want to come right into Shavasana now, you're welcome to it. Or we'll take our good old toe stretch. This is always a great one. So, toe stretch here, you may want to have a blanket underneath your knees since the knees are going to be on the floor. Okay? So if you want to take a blanket underneath the knees, maybe walk yourself into tabletop and allow your toes to tuck towards the ground. They're tucking underneath you. And then you'll walk yourself back onto your heels. Sometimes you need to readjust some of the toes there, but sitting on the heels will give you the deepest sensation since all of your body weight is on your feet. That may be too much sensation too quick, or eventually you'll want to release a little bit. So you can take blankets, maybe you take some blocks or pillows, whatever you're using, and you can always come forward a little bit. You can always hinge forward, that will be less. Or maybe you even bring your hands to the floor instead. You don't have to use props, you can just simply bring your hands to the floor, but it just depends on what's the best shape for you. If you're sitting back on your heels though, you can keep your hands on your lap or off the lap. Your chin can be neutral, or you can drop the head and let the head be a little heavier, maybe stretching into the sides of the neck or the back of the neck. Softening just like every other pose. Can you remember that essence despite any presence of discomfort? Relaxing through the jaw, relaxing through the chest and belly. Softening through the glutes and into the knees. Even softening in between the toes here. Within your variation of toe stretch, allow yourself to take a full breath in and a full breath out. And then within your own time, you'll begin to hinge forward, hinging forward to guide your hands to the mat as you untuck one foot, walk the knee back, untuck the other foot, walking the knee back. It may feel good to tap the tops of the feet to the floor, that little pitter patter. Sometimes I like to pick up my feet and just let them shake. Or maybe you roll into the ankles, flex and point into the toes. And then from there, we'll allow the feet to continue to rebound as we prep ourselves for our final pose of Shavasana. You can think of Shavasana here as our final rebound, or the most epic rebound. But from there, you'll come to lay on your back unless you'd rather take Shavasana on your belly or your side body. That's okay too. If you want any props, you can always have a pillow underneath the head, a bolster or pillow underneath your knees. Maybe you're going to take a blanket on top of the body if you're feeling a little cool. So you can set yourself up however you'd like for you to be comfortable. No right or wrong. And you'll close your eyes, finding that stillness to signal to the body that you've arrived. With another sweep of consciousness, allow yourself to completely relax and soften. And as we welcome ourselves to our essence, we'll welcome ourselves to Shavasana. Very gently, let's begin to deepen our breath, arriving back into the presence of your inhales and the release of your exhales, coming back into the space of your body, coming back into the space of your room, and into the room we energetically share. And within your own time, you'll find a few gentle movements to help awaken through the hands and feet. From there, you can always lift the arms up and above the head to take a full body stretch. Or maybe the arms instead cross over the chest, giving the upper body a little squeeze. Expansion of the shoulder blades there. And then, of course, from there, you can bend into the knees, guide your feet flat to the floor. It may feel good to windshield wiper the knees from side to side, awakening through the hips and torso. You may find yourself hugging the knees into the chest and eventually rolling to one side of the body. You can choose to stay there, or you'll walk yourself back to a seated shape. So whether you choose to stay in your Shavasana pose, stay on your side body, come up to sit, right? End your practice however you'd like. Whatever you decide to do, you'll find stillness, reclosing the eyes in case they've opened. And taking a moment to reflect on your practice. Notice the essence flourish throughout the body and the breath. Noticing any reclaimed space, any parts that have clarity now. Let's come together to find a cleansing breath. We'll inhale through the nose. And then open the lips to exhale. You're welcome to guide your hands into a prayer shape at heart center. And you can join me as we find the sound of Om to close our class together. Taking a deep breath in. And you'll gently bow your chin towards your chest. Thank you for practicing with me this evening, being elevated through yoga. Namaste.